Hi, my name's Jeremy Gilley. I'm a filmmaker and founder of Peace One Day. 2012 has been a benchmark year. 280 million people aware of Peace Day, 4% of the world's population. We can double that figure in 2013. By working together, we can institutionalise Peace Day, making it a day that is self-sustaining. A day when children are not bullied, women are not hit, and guns are not fired. Our theme for 2013 is Who Will You Make Peace With? So let's find out how this all began. The first film I made was a journey to establish a day of ceasefire and non-violence with a fixed calendar date, the 21st of September. That documentary was called Peace One Day, and it told the story of how and why the 21st of September is a day of ceasefire and non-violence.
It is so decided.
It was an incredible journey, it was an amazing honour to be a part of it, and as a filmmaker, it really excited and inspired me that the form, the camera, could really drive a process through. The second film I made documented the first ever lives being saved on the day, and that took us into Afghanistan. Jude Law travelled with me, and that was a great success. Everybody became involved in Afghanistan, including the Taliban, who agreed not to harm health workers on the day. As a consequence of that, and because of everybody's hard work, particularly the United Nations, 10,000 vaccinators were able to go into areas where they couldn't normally go for fear of being kidnapped or killed, and millions of children were vaccinated against polio. It was incredible, and it demonstrated that the day was far from symbolism, and that it could work in a place where many thought it was impossible. At that time, the UN in Afghanistan put out a press release with a statement from the United Nations Department for Safety and Security announcing a 70% reduction of violent incidents on Peace Day. It blew me away.
Most significantly, the Taliban also agreed not to block access to health workers involved in the campaign.
It made me think, if we can do it there, we can do it everywhere.
The cynic used to say that the day existed, but what difference does a day make? And what I saw in Afghanistan the two times we went was, well, the difference is life or death.
So I spoke to Jude and Ahmed Fauzi and to others, and that led to an idea, which was to try to manifest not only the largest reduction of violence in recorded history, i.e. in our homes, schools, local communities and between countries, but also the greatest gathering of individuals standing together in the name of peace on one day. We called this the Global Truce Campaign. In order to make it work, I knew we had to bring together a series of coalitions, each with a lead partner, and that's what we did. 2012 launched a student coalition, partnering with the National Union of Students in the UK, a coalition of organisations committed to reducing domestic violence, partnering with EDV Global Foundation, and a coalition of non-governmental organisations partnering with Interpeace. The results were incredible. Thousands of organisations were activated by the coalitions across the world. It was the greatest year for participation we've ever seen. So, who will you make peace with? It really is an opportunity for all of us to become involved in the peace process. By working together and making peace with each other, we will improve the quality of our lives. Peace Day is not just about a reduction of violence in areas of conflict, it's also about reducing violence in our homes, communities and schools. So who will you make peace with? Who will you bring together on Peace Day?
I first came across Prem Rawat because I was asked to speak at an event at the European Parliament.
And Jeremy Gilley from Peace One Day.
Thank you for your wise words. Thank you to the European Parliament for inviting me here today.
And I saw him tell one of his stories, and it was, it was beautiful and it was profound, and it was inspiring. And so I clearly knew in that moment that I was listening to a man who had, an awful lot of wisdom on the issues of peace, and had clearly been thinking about it all his life.
It is incumbent upon us to use our resources, intelligence, and the goodness of our hearts to bring forth peace on this planet Earth, regardless of how impossible it may seem.
And then I found out, obviously, that he'd been speaking about it all his life, and that he'd been traveling the world and speaking to hundreds of thousands of people every year on the topic, and devoted his entire life to inspiring and empowering people all over the world to think about peace and to act for peace in their own individual way. And he's an incredible human being, you know, a very wise and courageous, powerful man.
It is not the world that needs it, it is us as individuals who need the peace.
You know, given my own journey in relation to creating a day of peace and then, you know, trying to prove that it could work and now make it, institutionalize it. And there were lots of synergies for us to be able to potentially, you know, do some work together.
As a filmmaker, I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a film about peace because I wanted to answer some of those fundamental questions. And then I realized there was no day of peace. Together, we can create peace one day. Please go to your friends, your colleagues, your families, and let us unite on the 21st of September 2012 and send a message to the new generation that we can change and things can be different. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Well, I jumped at the opportunity of being able to have a one-to-one with him because, you know, I knew that this was an individual who has obviously been on a much longer journey than I've been on.
It's really wonderful that Prem, you know, given that he is so, you know, obviously, you know, peace is his life, and talking about it and inspiring and empowering people all over the world, for him to, you know, inform the global community at whatever level he can that there is a day of ceasefire and non-violence, and it's an opportunity for them to unite with others around the world. Nice to meet you, nice to meet you.
And I had no idea that it would be as entertaining as it was. Here we go. Here we go.
I spent 13 years on the road, you know, talking about peace and trying to create a day of peace, which we did, and the idea that, you know, if our world could unite, separate from politics and religion, and stand together as one, then in that unity would perhaps come a little shift in our consciousness around the fundamental relationships that we have around peace and sustainability. You know, the idea that we come together as one. What do you think of that idea? What do you think of the idea of us standing together in the name of peace on a global scale?
I think it is incredibly admirable if anyone makes those attempts to bring that consciousness in people. Think about peace, understand peace. That is so important because it just doesn't happen every day, you know. But how important is peace to a human being? Because I really feel that peace is very fundamental. Peace is fundamentally inside of every human being, you know, and we need to look at ourselves as the source of peace. Long time ago, that's what Socrates said, know thyself. I mean, he could have said anything. He could have really, truly said anything. Go climb that mountain, you know, remove that rock, dry up that ocean. But he said, know thyself. And people talk about this, but they really sometimes don't understand what does that mean? To look at yourself as the source of that peace, as the source of that clarity, as the source of that joy. And so anybody who takes those steps, who helps people recognize the need for peace in their lives and the importance of peace in our society, that's an incredibly admirable thing to do, and it's so, so important in our society.
We're going around the world and we're talking about peace and we're trying to promote peace and we're trying to promote a day of peace, and we know that it's not just about one day. We know it's months and months of work for people to lead up to that day. So they're thinking about it all the time in many ways. The day is just a realization of their kind of creativity and aspiration and desire to be involved. What happens when I get angry? I mean, I got angry the other night at something that I didn't like. Most of the time I'm at peace. I mean, what does that say about me if I lose my cool? I mean, do you ever lose your cool?
All that says about you is you're a human being. You know, ideally for a tree, it has taken a lot of effort, it has made a lot of effort to be clear and straight. But then when the wind blows, it has also learned to rock back and forth. Because if it doesn't, the branches will break. And so to me, there are all these attributes that we have. I mean, yes, you get sad, you get happy, you get angry. That's not the issue. You know, the anger isn't the issue. It's where are you coming from in your life? Are you actually anchored in peace? Is peace fundamentally there for you or not? Because if it isn't, then when the storm of anger comes, you'll get uprooted because you have no foundation. But the foundation is what's important. Getting angry and then understanding something from it is not a problem. Getting sad and then understanding something from it is not a problem, because I think too many people think the idea of peace is to become a vegetable. You know, you sit on some mountain and you are completely impervious to everything that happens around you. Well, excuse me, that's not going to happen. You are a human being. So all these textures exist in our life, but what do we choose? We have to make the choice. Do we learn something from our anger, or do we let the anger drive us? Do we understand why we were angry and then better prepare ourselves? Or we allow the storm of anger, sadness, desperation to just sweep us by and have the better of us?
But certainly the beginning of my journey was because I was so angry about what was going on in the world. I didn't understand why I was humiliated at school. I didn't understand why, you know, the world was behaving that it was. And as a consequence of me being angry about everything around me, I wanted to go on a journey to create a day of peace where I knew I would fail, because I didn't think it would succeed, and then I could point my finger at how unwilling humanity is to come together, even for a day. But of course, the opposite happened, you know, and of course it succeeded, and I'm less angry and I'm more hopeful now than I've ever been. And it's kind of interesting, isn't it? How I see what you're saying. You know, in many ways, you can turn your anger into an energy for good, as well as utilizing it for something that's destructive. And you're saying that's okay, which of course it is.
And a lot of people get angry and they misdirect that energy and do very bad things. I mean, look what's happening in this world, you know. There are people who, you take a baby and the baby wants to feel good. You know, the baby wants to feel just happy. And so all of a sudden it finds itself in a situation that it's not happy with. Well, it takes that anger and uses it to inform the mother, there's something wrong here, everything isn't right, I'm not happy, make it right. And the mother comes along and, you know, whatever it is, you want food, your diaper's wet or whatever. And then when that has been taken care of, the baby goes quiet. Baby falls silent. Why can't we learn that basic thing from a baby? That yes, maybe there is something to be angry about, like you did. Hey, this world is fighting with each other all the time, and that makes me angry. And so you took that anger and you diverted it positively. And now you are seeing a whole another side that you didn't see before. And that's wonderful, you know.
It's a fight, isn't it, a little bit? I mean, like peace, I feel like, you know, sometimes I feel like I have to fight for peace. And I wonder what you think of that. I mean, like a sailor, like a captain of a little boat in a big sea with a big wind and a small crew. There's no time to be pleasant. Yeah, you pull that sail quickly, otherwise we're going to go down. And sometimes, like running Peace One Day, you know, doing this work, it's so rapid, yeah, because there's no time, that sometimes I feel like, God, you know, it's like you're trying to kind of guess, you know, other people's, you know, you've got to get a good result, and sometimes other people's, maybe external, don't want that result, for whatever reason it might be, and you're kind of trying to manipulate your way through a situation which ultimately saw the guns stop in Afghanistan. I mean, you know and I know that 3-year journey to make it happen in Afghanistan, where everybody, including the Taliban, stopped fighting, where millions of children, that was not yes, 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 yes. It wasn't, was it? It was a process of trying to work out and fight. I mean, is that all right? I mean, is peace a fight sometimes?
Well,
to create it?
Of course it can be. But let's just look at the basics of it. In my opinion, and I've thought about this a lot, almost 40 years of trying to talk to people, and what I understand is one simple thing, that if you're trying to create manifestations of peace without peace, it's going to be problematic. If peace is at the core, then the manifestations of peace will be automatic. They will happen. But if the peace is missing in a very fundamental place, and you're just trying to create the manifestations, it's going to be very, very difficult. And that's why I try to take my message of peace, that peace is inside of you. I mean, I call it my message. It's really not my message. Many people have said this. Peace is inside of you. Search yourself, seek within you, and find that peace. Because unless that happens, trying to just create different things that reflect peace is going to be hard. Peace has to be in a fundamental level. And then you don't have to worry about the manifestations. The manifestations will be there.
I speak to people, most days, and young people particularly. The education materials we have now are in the 6 official languages, used in 197 countries. It's the most important thing to me, inspiring and empowering young people to be the driving force behind the vision of a united and sustainable world, and giving them the tools to do such a thing. I mean, giving them tools to become peacemakers. When I'm talking with young people, they see the movies, they see the journeys that we've been on and everything. They say to me, "Why did you never give up?" And because I was in New York when 9/11 happened. Why when 9/11 happened didn't you stop? What keeps you going? There's this sort of sense of peace isn't possible. And do you think that one of the problems that humanity has at this present time is that sense that people don't believe that they can change the world, and that they need to understand that actually, when you become involved yourself, and if we all did that on a global scale, we'd change it tomorrow. Is that one of the problems, that people's lack of belief that they can change the world?
Yeah, because the responsibility of for changing the world does not lie with them. It lies with some other entity, whether it is the governments, whether it is the angels that'll drop from heaven.
They think that.
They think that. Yeah. So they don't include themselves in the equation. That yes, they can make a difference, but it is true that they can make a difference. And just knowing that can have a huge impact. That yes, you are a very critical part of that machinery that will make peace happen on this earth. That you're not separate from it. You're not just a recipient of a news that, oh yeah, today there's peace in this world, thank you very much. No, you are part of making it happen. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. And we put so much emphasis on our youth, which is so important because they are our future. But I want to also see empowerment of the people who are not children. Maybe they are great-great-grandfathers. Maybe they've only got 3 more days to be on this earth. But for them to realize as well that they are a part of that process of making peace happen. I want to include everyone. I want to include youth. I want to include those people who will teach the youth. Very important. Because if they are out of touch with themselves, what are they going to be teaching the youth? I want to include the youth. I want to include people who are going to be teaching the youth. I want to include business people. I want to include governments. I want to include the poor people. I want to include the rich people. I want to include people who think they should not be included. I want to include everybody. You know, I want to even include those people who we have said, oh, you have done something wrong, let's lock you behind four walls, because they're going to be coming out of those four walls too, and then what?
Yeah.
You know, I want to include everybody. This is good news, and I want to say it again and again and again, like you need to, I need to, everybody needs to remember again and again and again and again, peace is possible.
Peace is possible, man. Yes, it is.
And maybe one day, it'll stick.
And it does stick, and that's the point that you're making. I mean, that's why we're inspired and empowered and gunning it every day and working hard, isn't it? And indeed, many, many others all over the world. It is possible. It does work. Forgiveness happens. People can stop. Even when you say they can't, they can.
Yes, of course.
We have to believe, and, you know, and it is absolutely possible. I really want to see it happen in our lifetimes. Of course, who knows? It's a process, it's a journey, and so we're completely in agreement. And I'm sure the people who are watching are in agreement too. That actually the greatest challenge that we all have is for us all to just embrace the idea that we can change this world as individuals, and if we stand together as one and do that, then bingo. All of us, whether you're a great granddad or a young person in primary school. We've all got to become a part of this. We've all got to accept that actually peace is possible, that we can change this world, we can lift the level of consciousness around the fundamental issues we face, quickly. I mean, I've been pretty much every conflict zone of the world, and I'm in 107 countries in the last few years, and like you, but frankly, wherever I've gone, whether it was Afghanistan or Sudan or Somalia, I never saw anyone fighting. I just saw beautiful people, like really passionate and courageous and hopeful. Pretty much everywhere you go is peace. I mean, of course I understand that there are people suffering unnecessarily and unfairly, and it's tragic, and I wish it wasn't going on. But actually, the greatest war that humanity faces is with a fist. It's not with a gun. And the greatest violence that's going to happen today is in a domestic situation.
Yeah, you were saying, you've been to so many conflict zones. And when you were saying that, I was thinking, where the biggest conflict zone is? Right here. This is where the conflicts start. This is the big conflict. And every single human being on the face of this earth potentially carries the conflict zone on top, and also carries a place of peace within the heart of every single human being. Choose. And people like you who are going out and giving people an option, choose the peace.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I mean, it's very exciting. That's where I think, quite interestingly, the education of youth around the issues of peace and instilling in them that sense of actually you are the peacemaker, and it's about what's going on for you, and that you having resolution amongst your friends and your family improves the quality of your lives, and therefore if that's happening within a community, it's improving the community, which of course is changing the world.
And this is what I see, is that people getting excited about peace, people understanding that peace will bring unparalleled prosperity, that we can move all together, that these are not impossible dreams, these are very, very possible dreams. If we can make things so miserable for people, then we can make things very beautiful for people, because it is just the flip side of it, And it's, yes, we all should be very excited about it, and everyone included.
Yeah. If each and every one of us realizes that we are the peacemakers of this world, that the problem isn't over there, the problem is right here, and if we resolve it within ourselves and around us, each and every one of us, then we'll change the world forever. Yeah. It's incredible to meet you, like really incredible. And like I'd heard you speak before, and I've known about you, but what it just blows me away, and I find it like, you know, when I think about it like a Jedi Knight, you know, there's guys in Star Wars, you know, who have their lightsabers. I just think it's mind-blowing that you're so like in touch with what peace is all about, and then that you fly the world in the most incredible planes, complex instruments, all for, you know, spreading the word of peace. I mean, you've got to be the greatest peace warrior on this planet. It really has been a massive honor to meet you, and really grateful for what you've shared with me, and I'm sure the people who watch this program will feel the same.
It's been a pleasure, Jeremy, meeting you, talking to you, and I truly hope that I'm not the only warrior, that every human being on the face of this earth is the warrior for peace.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care,
Jeremy.
friend.
Pleasure. Pleasure.
After being with him,
Amazing.
I just felt like totally energized. I felt like, you know, I'd been in the company of, you know, a great peacemaker. You know, I'd been in the company of a man who had devoted his entire life to empowering people. A man of peace. You know, it's a privilege to meet people like that. Obviously, it's an honor. It's an incredible thing. You know, and I feel very lucky.
It's just going to blow people away. It's going to, you know, that's like a Jedi. Do you know what I mean? He's a true Jedi, isn't he?
So it was a really interesting, kind of exciting, fun, inspired, you know, moment in my life. It was cool.
Well, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, it was real.
Take care. Take care.
Yeah, thank you so much. Real massive honor.